Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, coming in with our final video prior to the NBA draft. I'm recording this around 5 o'clock Newfoundland time, so what is that, 3:30 Eastern. So the draft is just around the corner, and we did have a bombshell drop today. Not necessarily a Woj bomb for the Toronto Raptors, but Michael Grange, obviously a Raptors insider, he came out and posted an article about what the Raptors, what position they are in the day of the draft. Obviously things might change. Michael Grange, he's a pretty solid Toronto Raptors reporter, but he doesn't have a perfect record in terms of reporting things. But he came out and said that the Raptors are, what's the direct quote? They've zeroed in, not locked in. They've zeroed in on Jalen Suggs at the 4th pick position. He's their guy. He's that guy that Bobby Webster was referring to in that interview, it seems like. And this makes a lot of sense. This is the guy that's been reported. It's what Woj came out and said he expects the Raptors to draft and all of these sorts of things. And to have Michael Grange say this on the day of the draft, it makes sense that Jalen Suggs is the guy that's most likely to end the night as a Toronto Raptor. However, he goes on to say how Scottie Barnes is a player that they definitely wouldn't mind falling in their lap. They would definitely welcome him as a fallback option. So that's similar to the reporting, similar to the expectations we've heard of. The Raptors are definitely high on Scottie Barnes, but as I've sort of taken the path of, even though I'm really intrigued by Scottie Barnes' upside, the sure thing in Jalen Suggs, or at least as sure of a thing as you can get in an NBA draft, his mentality, his defense, his athleticism, his ability to shoot, all of these things, his winning prowess, it's going to overtake the potential of a Scottie Barnes. But you know, if you could get that, if he's off the board, you know, so maybe some of the top 3 guys do something weird, who knows, then Scottie Barnes, you might be able to take him. So that's an interesting place for the Toronto Raptors to be in. I'm going to speak on Scottie Barnes a little bit because we did a whole video on him the other day, or a couple weeks back when we initially got the draft, because we were told from the beginning, it's a 4-player draft. Mobley, Green, Cunningham, and Suggs. Those are the top 4 guys at the draft, and then there's everyone else. And then the past couple weeks, Scottie Barnes has shot up analysts' power rankings. GMs have been really impressed with his pre-draft workouts, and watching highlights of the guy, it really makes sense. You know, being an athlete, being these sorts of things. But, you know, for as overwhelming and how exciting the physical attributes of Scottie Barnes shows, just watching his highlights and things, Jalen Suggs is also that guy, right? People compare him to Kyle Lowry. However, he's not really that small point guard that no one really looks at. He's a guy that can come up, dunk on people, explode by some players, play remarkable defense. And this is not to disparage Kyle Lowry's athleticism at all. He's the greatest Raptor of all time. However, Jalen Suggs, he brings a different sort of dimension to the guard position, and it's going to be very welcome to this team. Obviously, the fit, it's a little bit of a question mark considering we still have Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., but you take the best player available, and it's looking like Jalen Suggs is the best player available. I've seen Kevin O'Connor, a few more guys talk about him, because it really seems like the other players in the draft got a lot of the buzz over the past few days. Mobley, Cade, Green, but Suggs has been getting some love the past couple days. People are talking about his leadership, how he's the most polished player coming into the draft immediately, maybe outside of Cade, but all encouraging things. And listening to him talk about this team, the Toronto Raptors, the organization, the development staff, he just seems like a quintessential Toronto Raptor. So I'm going to be happy if we end up drafting Suggs. Obviously, nothing's a sure thing, considering how crazy the draft. Maybe Cade falls to us, even though that's I wouldn't put my money onto that. But you never really know what's going to happen in an NBA draft. So I'm excited to watch this and go live tonight and react to the pick and the trades that may happen. So that's one thing. That's the big report that dropped today. But we also got a little bit more rumors spark up a little bit that we've heard over the past couple weeks. And this is a topic of discussion. We got all the segments playing here at once. But this is a topic of discussion that's been pretty popular over the past week or so. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder trying to trade up in the draft. We briefly talked about this in our full out live breakdown draft preview a couple days ago that Riker and I did about potentially trading a Lou Dort and 6th pick for the top pick. But there's been official reports saying that there's been chatter amongst the Thunder and the Raptors about potentially swapping 4 and 6 picks, and then obviously OKC having to give some value up. And we both said, okay, would OKC really want to give up a young player like Dort in a trade such as that? It's only 2 spots, it's only 2 selections, but OKC, and I broke this down on our Courtside Digest video the other night, they were turned down Shea and 1 for the 6, or Shea and 6 for the first pick and Cade Cunningham. Fair enough. I mean, the first pick, it's such a gamble, such a lottery. You could be getting a LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, even though Luka never went number 1. But that type of player, or you could be getting an Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, this, that, or whatever, right? So you never really know how it's going to play out. And I could see the Pistons, it's their first number 1 overall pick in years. I could see why they did it, even though I think it's a stupid bet. It's not a smart bet to be able to do that if you're the Detroit Pistons. But then we heard that the Cleveland Cavaliers, they've been chatting. Apparently talks are still ongoing, but apparently the Cleveland Cavaliers have turned down Shea and 6 for the 3rd pick. For the 3rd pick. That's they must be very high on Mobley, because Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, I don't care what type of players you already have on your roster, Shea is a beast, and he's young, and he's an all-star caliber player. And they're going to turn that down, and a 6th pick for the 3rd pick. I don't know. I don't think draft picks are that solid. Like, what are the odds that a Jalen Green, a Cade Cunningham, or Mobley, or the one that you're going to get, right, is going to be at the level of a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander? That's a tough bet right there, and Shea's only entering his prime. He's only getting to that level, so that's an interesting take. But what this means for the Toronto Raptors is we have the 4th pick. If Shea and 6 was turned down for the 3rd pick, what could the Raptors potentially get out of OKC for the 4th pick? Now, I know the top 3 seem to be a little bit more valuable to a lot of teams, it feels like, than the 4th pick, just because of the top 3 guys. They're a bit wing players. Jalen Suggs more of a point guard, and OKC, they might not be that high on having a guard in their position considering their backcourt. But if they're giving up Shea and 6 for one of those positions, I don't even need the 6th pick. If they're going to give up Shea for 4, as high as I am on Suggs, as hyped as I may be, Shea is a beast. Shea is an absolute monster. So you have to consider that if you're the Toronto Raptors. If they're going to be able to throw 6 in that, I don't know who on earth would deny it. I think the Cavs are silly for denying it. If the Raptors get offered that, then they really have something to consider there on draft night, no matter how high they are on Suggs. And the final sort of indication, considering these reports, is we're not getting 3. We talked about trading up in that draft. The Michael Grange article that I threw up there only got a little paragraph on the screen, but if you read through it, it really gives them the indication the Raptors are unlikely to trade up in this draft, even though they may have tried. They've tried to do it, but it makes sense why. If teams aren't accepting Shea and 6 for one of those top picks, there's nothing I want to give up on the Raptors that is going to beat that, right? Fred's not going to beat that, and I wouldn't want to get Fred up in there. Trent's not going to beat that. Maybe Siakam, but I don't know, maybe OG, but I don't want to give up any of our core guys to move up in that draft, right? Riker and I were sort of talking about first pick and future first, right? Unprotected or something like that. But more than that, you don't want to give up those valuable assets. Get a center elsewhere. Evan Mobley, he could be great, and I would love for him to fall in our laps, but trading assets to move up that high in the draft, I think it's one pick. It's one pick away, and Jalen Suggs is a beast. He is a beast. It's not worth giving up, doing that swap, and adding in a legitimate core member of our team to take a risk on one of these top 3 guys when we already have a young player in the works, in a pick, one pick below, that could be just an absolute monster for our squad. So that's the real roundup of news. I'm going live with Josh on Courtside Digest now, probably a few half hours or so after this video is uploaded. So subscribe to Courtside Digest if you want the all NBA scope of the news and on Courtside. But then, obviously, going live for the NBA draft. I'm having a little draft party here, so it might be a little bit chaotic, might be a little bit wild. But Riker and I are going live on YouTube to break down the top 10 picks live as they're made. So we're really excited to have everyone in the chat. Everyone ready to go for this. It's going to be one of the biggest vids on the channel, for probably the biggest live stream we've had so far. So we're really excited to get that rocking. But check out Courtside Digest for that live stream. It's going to be incoming. And then obviously the big one tonight, the NBA draft. But you guys are the best for making this far. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, all that cool stuff. Once you make our pick, I promise we'll be back on the IG. Our editor, Tyson, he's making some cool graphics, some cool edits too. So those will be posted. And yeah, guys, let us know in the comment section who you guys want in this year's NBA draft, because I am stoked. I am stoked to make these picks, or I'd be stoked if I was making them, but obviously I'm not making them. But you're the best to make this far. I'm signing off. See you guys in a little bit.